Hello, and welcome to Big Ideas Explained. My name is Roger No, and in this video I'll attempt to explain the problem with help. The problem with help. What a funny thing to say. What could possibly be wrong with helping? Like most of these Big Ideas Explained videos, this brief video attempts to discover the deeper implications of rather simple words and concepts. So help. What's the problem with help? Help suggests the needy. The needy are weak. They're needy because they are weak. On the other hand, if they are weak, we must then be strong. We have the solutions and the resources to answer their needs. Surely the strong and the resourceful, those with the knowledge, the answers, and of course the money, they must be superior to the weak and the needy. Now our solution, speaking of us and them, our solution, we are the strong. They, the weak and needy, should begin to think, speak, act, dress, pray, celebrate, and look like us, and even dream like us. They should discard themselves and their rich values and traditions to become just like us. And so we have this policy, this attitude or approach to that occurs when one feels superior over the other. That is that idea of paternalism. Paternalism is the idea, the policy of restricting the freedom and responsibilities of one's subordinates or dependents in their supposed best interest. So while they have enjoyed generations, centuries of freedoms, now that the superior have arrived, the superior impose their ideas on those of the so-called inferior. And they do so, they say it because they care most about the inferior. Now, this is this policy of paternalism happens between individuals, but as well, of course, is the attitude that allowed things like colonialism to occur. And therein, the European, typically those that saw themselves as civilized, as they went around and colonizing the world, visiting faraway places and visiting interesting people, saw themselves as being the civilized, where the local was primitive or savage. Either way, whatever the labels, the assumption of superiority of one group over the other took place, which ultimately then justified the horrors of colonialism. So we see as we move forward into contemporary times, if we think of the Australian Aboriginal people and again in contemporary times, the Australian government as being composed of primarily European, white, English-speaking Christians. And today, the Australian Aboriginal elders look towards any efforts from the Australian government. You know, here is sort of what they say. If you've come here to help me, you're wasting your time. The Aboriginal elders realize the problems that were created when they were colonized by the Europeans. They were treated with an attitude of paternalism. And basically the Europeans, as they did in Canada, tried to wipe out the Aboriginal culture. That idea of help, that the Europeans had the answers and all the Aboriginals had to do was to look like the Europeans. And basically the Europeans took everything away from them. So please, the Aboriginal people say today, don't help me again. The last time you did, I'm still suffering from it. But they offer, if you've come, if the if the Australian government has come because they realize that their liberation, the liberation of the Europeans in Australia is bound up with, is interconnected with the well-being of the Aboriginal, then they say, the Aboriginal say, then yes, let's come together as equals and let's work together to solve our problems. And by working together to solve our problems, the Aboriginal population will benefit, and at the same time, the European population will benefit. In this way, the Australian Aboriginal elders are expressing their understanding of the ultimate truth, and that is that each group's well-being is interconnected with the well-being of others, and that the only opportunity for mutual benefit is a relationship that is set out as an equal relationship, rather than that very harmful, one-sided, superior-inferior relationship that word help sets up. So instead of thinking of the word help, think of words such as work with, working together. Think of supporting. Now, this help is like other words, help is a rather simple word, but hopefully we can see how even words like this have much deeper implications. Thank you for joining me for Big Ideas Explained, and I hope this explains the problem with help.